Hey there, welcome to Synth Seeker. My name's Luke. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite sort of, weird sounds that you'll hear in electronic music. You'll often hear it in space rock, berlinschool, things like that. I call it space whales. You can call it whatever you like. But it is that long sort of echoey sort of moi sort of sound that you were just hearing a moment ago. Boards of Canada, Tangerine Dream, all over the place. You'll hear that sort of sound. And it's not hard to make. And what we're going to do today is cover how to make that sound. Specifically, we're going to do it in Ableton. I've covered it before on hardware. A couple videos ago, I did it on the Nord Lead A1. It has the right sort of effect routing for it. And someone asked, hey, how do you do that in Ableton? So here's a super quick video on how to get space whales in Ableton. Let's get started. So at the end of the day, this effect is done with a ring modulator. And Ableton has a built-in ring modulator. It is in its audio effects. I believe under pitch and modulation, it has an effect called the frequency shifter. The frequency shifter is here, and it has a mode for ring modulation. And we're going to get into how this works. But if we take this sound apart, we start with the analog instrument, but you can use any instrument you like. This is just a bright instrument. I have 2 square waves here running through. They are an octave apart. They're very slightly detuned, and as we play them, you'll hear a low-pass filter sweep up, back down, and then an LFO is just sort of breathing. A slow LFO is moving the frequency of the filter. Okay, very simple sound, but you can do this with anything. Okay, this is just the timbre that I like to use for this. It's fairly illustrative. On top of that, we have our phaser. Okay, this is basic sort of berlinschool sound design, which we've talked before. We're trying to get more motion in the timbre of the sound. So you can hear in the background there, we've got a little bit of phasing going on. Then we add a little reverb. And you can make that as long or short as you like. You can use big reverbs or room style reverbs. I'm using sort of a room reverb because I don't want the tails too long on the reverb, because I am then going to apply some space echo. Alright, so that's just a couple square waves, an analog instrument. It's running into a phaser. That's sort of mildly phasing, nothing too extreme. That is then running into a sort of room reverb, and then that all is running actually into the echo. The reverb's at the end. But that basically gives you a spacey sort of pad sound, a brass kind of useful tool. All right. Now we're running it through our frequency shifter here. Our frequency shifter is in ring mod mode. And then what we're going to do is we're going to modulate by hand the frequency. We're going to crank the frequency knob. Some of the settings in the frequency shifter are a little tweaked. There is a fine and a coarse frequency knob. And the fine knob only goes down, the coarse knob only goes down to 1 hertz. It doesn't actually go down to 0. But for this effect, we want to be able to get it down to 0. So I've manually typed in -1 in the fine knob. Okay. So what that does is it adds these two values together. And so what it gives us in effect is when my frequency, my main coarse frequency knob is all the way down at 1 and the fine is at -1, we've got a frequency shift of 0. We were ring mod frequency of 0. And that allows us just to sort of resolve all the way down. So what that means is if I've got something going, even though this ring mod frequency knob says it's at 1 hertz, because the fine knob is at -1, it's actually 0. So when I play, there's no ring mod effect at all. And then as we bring it in, you can hear it getting faster. As it gets up into an audio rate, we start hearing sidebands come in. And we just sweep that. One technique is to start at 0 and sweep. Another technique is to take it up about 2/3, take it up into the audio rate, hit a chord, and then slowly bring it back down. Right, and you get that sort of resolution. You've got this metallic ring mod that resolves as you bring it down. And then the echo just lets you put these space whales sort of call and response. And really, that's about it. Now you can do this on any synth, just about, hardware or software, if you've got a feature on it that will let you do audio rate modulation, either an LFO that goes high enough or some mechanism you can maybe feed an oscillator back into itself onto some other parameter like filter frequency or even oscillator frequency. And if you can do that at audio rate, you can sweep it up. Some synths will go kind of into the audio range. They'll get to like 100 hertz, and that will work, but you won't get the sort of higher pitched sort of squeals that you may want. So experiment with it. If you're working in modular or you've got analog synths with CV control, just crank a control voltage over or run an oscillator into a control voltage input and then play with the oscillator frequency, going from very, very low to very, very high. And really, that's about it. So I hope this has been useful for you. This is a very quick tutorial in Ableton specifically, but this does apply to any hardware you may have on how to do berlinschool space whales. And there you have it. So I hope this was useful for you. And as always, you have been watching Synth Seeker. Have a great day.